Have you been on a long spiritual journey, connecting to multiple dimensions from your inner self while experiencing an expansion of consciousness into still more openings? Or would you rather deny the existence of multiple dimensions and energy as a physical threshold between a material world and a world of multiple less material and non-material realities? Whether you're on one side or the other, it's time to reconsider our basic assumptions. So we'll start with some basics at the level of the third dimensional reality. We can say that during our lifetime, we build up a self-image, and we do it by reading the signs of others' reactions to us. We read these as signs, and we build up a worldview that is based on these signs and the way that they are represented within us. And the way they are represented within us is related to our emotional states and our sensory states, pre-linguistic states. And then when we grow up and we become older and our frontal lobes are developed, we also become more mental about it, and we create mental explanations, and we generate narratives also in order to understand ourselves. And in these narratives, we place the different people that we have experienced during our lifetimes and that have made an impression on us, so that some of these experiences actually made imprints on us and become central pillars in the stories that we make about ourselves. This is actually the way that we create what we could call idiosyncratic realities. This is the world that we create this is absolutely our own version of reality. And you can say that the idiosyncratic level of reality, and again, no matter how far you go in your inner journeys and your journeys into the energetic realms and sort of expand yourself, from that point of departure, no matter how far you go, it's still an idiosyncratic reality. And this idiosyncratic reality is based on elements that are shared with others, such as what I call language games and thought forms, programmings, etc., that is shared at the cultural level, or even particular cognitive patterns or particular emotional patterns that exist inside ourselves and that we share with others. So that can be particular ways of thinking. And when it comes to thought forms and language games, this is actually what we share at the linguistic level among each other at the cultural and social level. So there are lots of assumptions, cliches, interpretations, common interpretations of the world, of our interactions, etc., that we share, and they become automatized. We learn it, we adapt, we assimilate into it as we are raised in a particular society, and as we learn in the particular educational institutions. And this is also what many spirituals call conditionings. But it's also just a way of making shared worlds, actually, so that when we categorize and we have common language games and we have common thought programs, this is also just because we cannot interact, we cannot make worlds, we cannot structure common worlds that will function for many people at one time without having some commonalities. So there is these levels of commonality that can be both good and bad if you want to judge and evaluate these thought forms and language games. But the way that we put them together and the way that our inner emotions and our sensory processes and our energetic processes are affecting our experience of these common shared cultural and social fields, that is idiosyncratic. And that goes also for further spiritual processes, if you have such. The way that these go together with all the other experiences that we have gained during a lifetime, half a lifetime, fourth of a lifetime, or however old we are in this particular life at this moment. They come to form the idiosyncratic, because the synthesis of it all is unique for each individual. And a part of it, and particularly at the level of narrative, we create a life story around ourselves. We emphasize particular happenings as something that characterizes us as a person. And we emphasize particular people that have existed in our reality as part of the narrative. That also goes for being knowledgeable about the world. The way that we collect knowledge about the world is also connected to the people that we have in our worlds. Even if we say that we know something and then we search for people who represent this knowledge and who can perhaps aid us further on in an educational system or in a business system or an organization or something like this, sort of like an oscillatory movement between our inner world and our external world, that constantly also adds to the narrative that we have around the world. And if, for instance, we are researchers, as I myself have been at one point, it also goes for the researchers that we connect with, the theories that we connect with, the particular persons that we connect with, actually also come to form our realities. And those are contingent realities, because there is, at this moment in history and in this time-space moment, there is so much theory, so many theorists, so many positions, so many variations of potentiality that we can pick from and attract, that also at this level we would have to say that there is a level of idiosyncrasy to it, although we are striving also to generate generalized knowledge or generalized insight, that is what you could call shared and negotiated worlds. So as I said, to some extent, all these mechanisms sort of like also function in a similar way when it comes to frequencies and vibrations and energy. Although at this level, when we experience this, it is in the first instance not intellectual, and it's also not emotional. It's actually what I characterize as feeling. And this lies at a much more subtle level, and actually it's more intelligent and has a wider range than both emotion and brain-based intelligence. Emotion is much more connected to the amygdala of the brain, close to the brainstem, and it's much more primitive, whereas what I call feeling is much more sophisticated. It is, we can summarize, and if we were to make a description of what feeling is, we could say that it's a synthesis of frequencies and the vibrations and the discernment of qualities at the level of fine sensory intelligence that we are capable of making. So, if we can learn to be receptive to feeling, we will have access to an experiential realm that lies before what the brain dissects and before what our intellect is able to categorize into words and concepts. And so again, there's nothing wrong with words and concepts, because this is a part of what makes these shared social fields that we live in. This is also going to be material for co-creation, because we do need language, we do need communication, we need to be able to connect ourselves together. And that's what we do when we categorize. So it's not to say that all so-called conditioning is bad and all so-called categorization is bad, but it's just that feeling lies beneath it. And when we reach into feeling, we can reach into the world of energies, qualities, entities, and we can reach into a new level of discernment. We can get more accurate and fast information about a given situation that we're in, about a given network, about given people that we want inside our network for co-creation. And we can actually learn to live in an expanded world. But at the same time, we also live in a material world of separated objects in this beautiful thing that I call diversity. And at this level, we need categorization to have a shared and common language for communication. So, once we have integrated the ability to move into the experiential field of feeling, and when we feel at home with this, we become able to descend again, what I call descension. So after an expansion of consciousness into these realms, getting to know these realms more, we become able to descend and come back into our more physical parts, and even to elevate our physical parts and our presence at the level of basic, organic, juicy existence. So expanding our consciousness and moving into these higher dimensions, and sensing also still more collective levels and more clearly, sensing planetary levels, sensing collective emotions, thoughts, etc., all these different variations that happen constantly throughout the day, every single day. But moving into this level of experience it's not just a question of leaving physicality, leaving the material existence, and leaving diversity and fragmentation, and even what they call duality. It's not just about assimilating all the experiences that we had, and again, as I said, seeing the world as our own singular creation, so that we end up in a solipsistic world of completely our own, and we forget the meeting with others, the integrity of others. We forget to respect the diversity of all the phenomena in the surrounding world that we actually are going to learn to play with when we move into co-creation in this dense reality. So actually it's about expanding the boundaries of what Jakob von Uexküll called our Umwelt, both as a species and as individuals. It's about growing our awareness and ability to feel unity consciousness, while we are simultaneously able to embrace the wonder of diversity. And then we understand that identity is extremely complex in a certain way, and that we in part do create our own worldviews and stories about ourselves and others, but at the same time we experience that once we are able to both sense and think in the material world and feel in the energetic world, we can merge these perspectives into unity. And once we're able to regard ourselves as separated individuals, while simultaneously regarding our existence as a unity with all parts of humanity, and with all parts, all singular phenomena existent on the planet and in the solar system and cosmos, if you want to go that far, we're able to feel a calm expanded but very physical presence in an expanded now that also deeply values the integrity and existence of the other. So, how are you going to look at the world today?